just comparing human radiologists and AI, what degrees of precision, statistically, if we look at it, are the differences between humans and AI detections?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of number of different studies, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 studies or so that are decent. And I think it's fair to say that AI seems to be at least at the same level as the radiologist in these studies. So, I mean, how much it can improve, I don't know how much you can improve it. It's hard to say, but I think right now it's like on par with radiologist. But it depends, of course, on how you implement it and if you have validated for certain equipment and a certain setting and so on. Because, I mean, if you have an algorithm that performs very well on images from Siemens equipment, like mammography equipment, maybe you cannot be sure that it works equally well for images that comes from hologic equipment, because it's kind of different image quality and so on. So, but if you use it like it was, that for the purpose it was trained and for the equipment it was trained for and so on, it seems to perform at the same level currently. In some studies you can see that it's a little bit better, and some studies not, like a little bit worse and so on. But so right now I think it kind of hovers around the same performance or accuracy as the radiologist.
So at the current state of it, at least, it's more of a different types of execution rather than necessarily an outperformance of humans, as we see in many other fields of AI.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, well, yeah, if you compare it heads on, I would say that's true. But then you can implement it in ways that you cannot implement human radiologists. So changing the threshold, for example, to wherever you want it to be is easy to do with an algorithm. But telling a radiologist to become a little bit like, can you please be 10% less suspicious from tomorrow on? It's not easy. So, I mean, it's easier to set the thresholds, to set up a process that, you know, like you can control in a better way. So, for example, you could imagine that you would have an AI system with a very low threshold to filter out cases that extremely rarely would have a cancer. And then that system could handle those cases on its own without any radiologist. But, of course, there will at some point be cancer in the group that was filtered out that could potentially have been detected by a radiologist. So, but I think it's like it's probably, if you look at the end result, it's probably a good implementation, but I think it's not possible at the moment to do it because of different things. But I mean, one thing is the medical responsibility that I think right now there has to be a doctor reviewing each image. You can't just let it, let AI handle it. That's one thing, but it's also that it's not. I think it becomes more evident that there are some cancers that are missed in a way. We already miss cancer, but it's not so. It's kind of, maybe I don't know to say if it's more acceptable or so, but I think there is a parallel to like self-driving or autonomous vehicles. Like if a autonomous vehicle hits a person that gets serious injuries or dies, it's less acceptable in some sense than if a person hits a person, because it's. I think there is some kind of different standard. You expect machine or the computer to be more kind of perfect in a way. So I think it will take some time before you can accept that maybe this is, we will detect more cancers, but we will also miss some cancers that a radiologist would have detected. So I think that is also something that makes it, that kind of implementation, difficult. But I think it's probably, if you look at it, it's probably a better way. And that's something that would be very difficult to have a radiologist do. Just be extremely suspicious. And I mean, like, you wouldn't save that. So the whole point here would be to save time for the radiologist, because you would not detect more cancer by this, but you would save time for the radiologist that could be dedicated to something else. Or if the management wants to save costs, also to save costs. That's not so exciting, but I mean, that's something as well.
A lot of managers would be excited about that.
But
I think that's, I mean, there's a lot of discussions all around Europe about lack of resources in terms of personnel, medical personnel. So if there are systems that can basically automate a large portion of the system so as to give more freedom to the special cases that really need human attention at the current state, at least, is very important.